Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. An experienced entrepreneur, Ladywinnie Allison, is the owner of several senior care homes here in Arizona. Welcome to the show, Ladywinnie.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
It's Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, but you're one of our guests who are actually in Tucson, correct?
Yes, I am.
Excellent. So you currently run several assisted living homes, is that right?
Yes, I do. I run about 4 at the moment. We are preparing one. It's in the setup stages where we're getting permits and fire sprinkler systems and all of that to get it all, good to go. It takes a few steps.
Okay, so these are the residential model homes.
Yes, they are.
Okay, and for our listeners who may not know, in Arizona, about 20% of the assisted living homes are residential model instead of commercial, the big box ones that may feel a little bit more like a hotel or long hallways and a cafeteria type of thing.
Yes.
I like the residential models because they feel more like a home, which is where we've spent most of our lives. And I think the caregiver to resident ratios are generally better. And I think the food's better too.
You're right about that. I've heard, comments from the other side too. But our goal usually, and I think that's the health department goal, is to provide a homely type experience for seniors who can't be at home because of safety reasons and, not lack of care at home, or some obviously family members have a life also. And so they tend to find a safe place for their family members or loved ones until, things change or they feel like, they can do it and continue caring for them. But we love what we do, and it's for the chosen, I think.
Yes. It takes a special person to provide that type of care.
I think so too. It's one of the things that I come home and fall asleep well, if that makes any sense. I go to sleep feeling good because I've emptied what I've had to give. It's all gone. Yes.
Excellent. I love that. That's well said.
Thank you.
Taking a step back to what we were just talking about, though, there are, I think they're ADLs, activities of daily living, right? That there's certain things that if people need help with, they can't be on their own anymore, generally speaking, right? If there's not somebody who can come by every day and check on them and stuff. So it's a great way for them to stay in a house with some people and have social interaction, which we now know is really, really important, right?
Yes.
We've known it, but I mean, they have studies now showing it.
Right. So ADLs, activities of daily living, are really, as you said, primary cause or reason to have them resettled or moved into a place where all of those goals you've mentioned are met. Believe it or not, it takes effort to achieve goals as far as our ability. So what we do in assisted living is provide to meet the resident where their ability ends. It could be just getting to the fridge. It could be just going to the restroom. It could be getting up to turn on the light or, warm up some food or even cook. So they're very basic needs, and everybody is different. Like I said, we meet them where their ability ends because you just never know. It's a box of chocolates. When I describe what we do, for a new family that's looking, I say, hey, it's like you have a baby and you give them to us. Whatever their responses are, whatever their needs are, whatever we feel like they're needing to make them have a great quality of life that's left, whatever that might look like, we meet that, we avail that, we provide that. And so it's one of those things where you just never know. And we discover a lot more when they come into our setting that they sometimes will hide or unintentionally not show weakness thereof. But when they come into a community where they're like, hey, John's being helped or Susan's being helped, I can get some help. So they loosen up and just enjoy the ride, especially when they love the home. And our goal is just to love them and give them whatever we feel will make them happier or live a better quality of life, whatever that looks like.
Excellent. That's awesome. And that's um, a lot of challenges associated with that, for sure. And we can get into some of those maybe in a minute, but there's different levels of care as well, right? There's because we all lose our faculties over time, and there's almost all elderly have different levels of dementia, frankly, right? I mean, I do, you do, and as you more and more of it, we have these moments, and some people are officially trained in it, right, to
Yes.
be able to deal with it. But really, if you have an assisted living home, I think everyone's basically providing some level of that type of care. Can you speak to that and how you guys?
I'm glad you spoke about that because the Department of Health has come up with certain trainings in dementia to refresh as for all care providers, but more so to just highlight on new studies, new results, what they're finding out about dementia, and so that influences level of care a lot. And so there's three levels of care. There's directed care, which is people who are needing more care, lots of memory loss, physical ability or inability, and things like that. And then there's the supervisory level of care, which is the second, which is the middle of they make their own decisions, some decisions, however, their body is physically failing or some memory loss. And then there's the supervisory, which usually means physically unable, but their mind is still sharp, or even a combination of both, but still accomplishing at least 50 or more of their needs for activities of daily living. And so dementia has become uniquely an area that we have all had to relearn. I felt like I've done this for 7 years, and I felt like, I really don't even maybe need this training. But until I went to it because it was mandatory, I learned that you just never know enough because
Right.
there's research being done, there's studies being done, so much is being discovered. I learned that dementia has several different faces, has several different conditions and diagnoses. And so that influences ability, even like you mentioned, between us, you and I, it's possible that we may have some traits, but not significantly. And so looking at those levels of care, you can almost always determine, obviously with help of providers, PCPs, neurologists, and all of that, to study the brain and find out or figure out what level of care we have a resident. Because the mind is number one in determination of those. However, other abilities or inabilities also come into play to set a specific level of care. So level of care definitely sets the pace for how much care we provide, where we will meet the resident and resident's needs. For example, after a care plan is prepared by a nurse who can normally read the medical reports from the hospitals and different places to determine surely how do we as senior care or caregivers, then meet a resident where their limits are. So really, really great determination for us to continue providing care.
Okay. Yeah, there's always room for improvement, right? Everyone can keep growing. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the goal for all of the continuing education classes. But dementia has been a game changer for all of us. It's just been magnificent.
Right. Okay. Excellent. So, I don't know. People may not know sort of the rules they vary from state to state, how many people you can have in a home, and what the minimum required caregivers present at any given time. I've seen some people, there's always supposed to be somebody awake, I believe. And
Yeah.
some of these mom and pops back in the day wouldn't follow these rules, right? They'd have one person,
Right.
they'd just sleep at night, and
Right.
your loved ones, particularly if they needed more care, weren't
Right.
necessarily getting it. But can you I believe there's still required to be a manager at each facility, and an active manager can be at two facilities, can hang their license at two places.
That's
Is that
right.
still?
That's right.
Okay.
So I'm a caregiver first, but I also acquired my manager license. However, because I have several different locations, I prefer not to particularly hang my license so I can take care of the overhead. So it is true that we require a manager to be licensed or hang their license at a facility, but the care that is provided daily is provided by caregivers who are specifically trained to care for residents in settings like ours. Some homes have, the more filled or the larger homes facilities have can hire CNAs and all of those, but because our setting entails all care, I'm talking from breakfast, waking up, changing, cleaning, medication administration, all of that, we have to study and learn all of those needs so that we can apply ourselves the best way. So a CNA cannot work in a facility without adjusting their license to acquire a caregiver certification because of the uniqueness of the training that we have. It encompasses everything we need to care for our seniors. So yes, you need a manager, you have to be licensed, you have to hire licensed caregivers. Depending on how long people have owned their homes, the policies and procedures state how each home is run. And there are homes where it's optional to have a night away caregiver, and that's stated precisely in the policy and procedure. However, that can change. But those are usually homes where the owner lives in the home, likely, or they have a live-in staff. But the homes that have staff coming in and out and state clearly that they will have an awake staff must maintain an awake staff at all times.
Right.
Yeah, and it also depends on the types of residents in the home. So those homes that may have a staff that sleeps at night may only admit more able residents. So you can't have hospice patients, if you're planning on sleeping, because you may have medication administration orders throughout the night. And so as your rules or your policies and procedures state, so you behave for the period that you're licensed.
Okay. Right. And what's it sort of been? Again, this is Florida and Arizona are sort of the bigger states or markets for care homes, because that's where people go to retire, right? And they like the area and they want to be there. So how is finding staff for your facilities been? Has that been a challenge lately?
So some people have found a challenge, but what I live by is when you treat people well, they give you back.
Yep.
I've had staff that I've maintained over the years, for several years, for reasons that, they need a vacation for a month for whatever reason. I will give it to them and work around that. Hey, I can only work this time because I'm going to school. Sure, I'll give you that. I work things out such that we're both comfortable. And so I find that I've retained staff that way. However, there's homes that are struggling. And in general, I've heard when I go to forums, when I go to my manager CEUs, there's conversation that goes on and on and on. There is definitely a challenge with the growing number of homes in the area, but I personally have not seen that very much. And I think I'm not saying they don't, give what I give too, but it's just felt like I've been able to maintain for those reasons. Where in other places, they'd say, sorry, you can't come back after that. You know what I mean? So for example, Yeah.
Okay. So and I think that's a really big deal. Having that continuity of care, right? And having the same staff around regularly, because they become your friends and it is sort of a family environment. So it's very important.
You're absolutely right. And much as it is a family setting for the residents, it is a family for us staff too. We celebrate together, we cry together, we lose residents we all feel attached to. We gain residents that mean something to us. I randomly get calls and say, hey, somebody told me about you taking care of so-and-so for a while. And because so-and-so was it, do you still have that staff? So it's a community. It's a web of responsibility for all of us. Eventually, that is the bottom line. You treat people right. everything else flourishes around you. So that's how I can express my retention of staff.
Nice. Well done, Ladywinnie. Very good. So,
Thanks.
are there so you mentioned an increase in the number of homes. I imagine there's a supply and demand in like any market. What sort of sets you apart and your homes apart?
So there is a high demand. That's true. My homes, and this is something that's really dear to my heart, I serve primarily low income residents going through access or long-term care. I've received a lot of residents from, hospitals where they're discharging, they don't have where to go, they don't have the funding right now, or hospice will call me with a long story saying, hey, I have a resident who does not have this or that. I'll take them in and work through what they need to get them where they should be going. So
Awesome.
my calling, I feel like, is to serve the senior population, especially those who are not financially well placed. So my homes are in different areas and locations, and I have referrals by word of mouth a lot because there's always a story. I have so and so, my mom and my dad, or this, that, the other, or I have a resident who has nobody. Can you take them? They don't have this, they don't have that. So I take them in and we figure things out. And that, I feel, is something that really makes my heart happy and I've enjoyed doing.
Oh, for sure. That's awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, referrals are a sign that you're doing things right.
Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
So, what are your goals for like 2026 or for the company in general for the coming years?
So I've recently learned, or I've gotten in situations where I have residents who are not qualifying for the long-term care because they're either more able or they're financially at the borderline. So which, speaking of borderline, for you to qualify for Arizona long-term care, you must make less than $3,000, or actually $2,800 and change. Now, when speaking about people, levels of poverty in this country, I feel like, and this is my personal opinion, those who have worked really hard and have earned something are not as much rewarded as those who may not have had, a fruitful background, like financially. So I've met where I have residents who are not qualifying just yet because they're making, just at the border. They can't get access and I can't increase my rate for them because that's all they've got. So what I'm trying to do is create a home type where I can meet those who are just at the border and can't go either place, and just provide them a home because they deserve a home too. So for my business, I feel like that's where I'm heading because there's a need there. And I never send anybody away because they can't afford. I figure if I have 9 residents, I can do a 10th. If I have 7, I can do a couple more. I can spread it, I can stretch it, and it will fit all of us. So I'm trying to get that gap filled in my community, in my assisted living home. So
That's great.
It doesn't require a license as per at the moment, which I don't know where that will go in the future, but there's a group that needs it. Where do they go? That's where I'm going. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. What are sort of the challenges associated with that? What is it just financing it?
It is financing it. That's the biggest challenge. And also neighborhoods that may not accept, or you can't have certain business activity out of a home. So I'm meeting that a little bit here and there, but I feel like that's easy to, if you have the resources, it's easy to channel out. However, the cost of living has gotten slightly high. So it's definitely baby steps to get to that, because we also have to meet our needs and, payroll and things like that. Insurance has gone up, groceries have gone up, rents have gone up. Insurance is one of our biggest expenses. But with everything else, payroll and all of that, it becomes difficult to sprinkle elsewhere. So as slowly as I've gotten one home so far, and that's a home that it used to be our home that we moved out of. So it was convenient to do that with it, but it's not easy to branch out and do it and buy a home and all of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And you mentioned earlier, I think, the requirements for retrofitting some of these properties to fit the criteria, like the bigger pipes for a proper sprinkler system and so forth.
So I've run into that in the property that we're trying to put together. We've had to increase the meter size because the one we had was not good enough. I understand being in a state that is, threatened by fire here and there. It's understandable. However, the costs that go into it, for a starter, it sort of just, it shuts you down.
It's cost prohibitive.
It is prohibitive. So you must be in the right place to be able to move into that direction,
Right.
with all of that in place. It's taken us about a year to get this home ready to go because of the costs along the way with sprinkler systems, getting a fire certification, adjustment, remodeling, creating all of the ramps, all of the, ACA, ADA requirements to just be certified and qualified to operate as this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Here's as we start wrapping up this interview, I have some bigger questions maybe for you, and this one is one I just recently done that I like is what have you done in the last 12 months that has changed your life?
That's a big one.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be the last 12 months exactly. If there's something that impactful that happened or something, it's kind of more of along the legacy, right? Train of thought of things that have refocused your efforts or things like that.
In the last 12 months, actually, I can speak about the most challenging residents I've had. I think in the last 12, it's progressively getting higher. So I've served the most underprivileged in the last 12 months. And I'm talking, from the street, not having where to go, and I've taken them in and I've walked through it. And I've had residents who, the Altex process has taken even longer. And so there are periods where you may not get prior period coverage, but you've had them. And so for 3-4 months, you've served a resident, but there's not been a payment that has come through for that.
Right.
I feel really good about those such things because I feel like it's what makes my heart sing.
Okay.
It's when I do or give or do things like this and that, and the family's like, man, thank you. You have no idea what you've done for us. Things like that. And the last 12 months have gotten progressively needing or requiring that I pour into somebody and things like that. So I would say that's it.
Okay, that's beautiful. Where do you suppose your altruistic nature comes from?
I believe I was born to do this. I think that being that I've personally struggled and I had to, I'm an immigrant. Just a little background. I'm an immigrant. And when I first came to the United States, I was alone. I had no family. And so along the way, my college friends became my family. When they'd take me home, the family would say, can we adopt you? You fit in so well. We like how you behave. You've changed our daughter or our son or whatever the case might be. But I've realized that my family along the way has been people that I have lived with somehow. I don't have blood relations that I lived with when I first came. And for many, 10 years plus, I lived with different communities. So I can fit anywhere. I feel like I could be planted in Asia right now, and I'll just do really well because I adopt very easily. And I understand when people state their struggles. I know exactly what that means because from college to my first job, I remember my first interview, I went to a job interview that I didn't have the resume for. I was still in college and I met the CEO and I said, I'm a quick learner. I can do this. And he said, you presented yourself really well. I'm going to give you a chance. I didn't even have a driver's license. Here's the kick. He told me, if you don't have your driver's license in a month, you're losing. You're not keeping this job. And I remember with all the fright and fear and not having a direction of where to go with that, I made sure that I got the driver's license and got my
Wow.
job. So
That'd go nice.
since then, I get it. I know what it means to be at the bottom. I am successful now. I consider myself that, but it's been a lot. And my daughters have watched and said, man, mommy, I remember when it was hard. And you always said, let's do it. It's going to get better. And so I hope that inspires them quietly, and somebody out there. But it is possible. If I can come that far and do it, anybody can do it. And I found myself hand-holding my staff to say, you can do this. When they've needed a caregiver certification and they haven't taken the test for a while, I say, you know what? Let's sit together. Let's study together. I'll help you get to your certification and things. So I'm a believer in pulling somebody up because I feel like it fills my cup somewhere.
Awesome.
And so that's where I think it comes from. Yeah. Thank you.
Right. And your daughter saying, I remember when it was hard. I think it doesn't really get easier. I think you get better at handling hard better.
I agree with that completely. It doesn't really mean that. I realize that I'm on call 24 hours a day.
Right.
I don't miss a call in the night. I am part of every admission. I know all my residents by name. I can communicate with providers and residents' families at whatever they're needing at any time and meet what they're needing. If I don't have it, I'll outsource it and we'll get a response. And there's a lot of not knowing with this area of work because I say, oh, my dad, they can't live at home. What do I do now? And I just, it's okay. Just let's work through it. And I get them through whatever they need. So
that's awesome.
It fills my heart.
That's awesome. Thank you. And incredibly impactful, right? I mean, the number of lives and people and families throughout the area, that's quite a legacy in itself.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yes. I hope that somehow inspires somebody out there, but more so the children that, I'm bringing up here with me.
Excellent. So Ladywinnie, if people would like to connect with you, learn more, find your care homes and stuff, what can they do? Where should they go?
So they can email. I have one of my homes has a website, Kozy, KOZY, garden.com. That's a peek through what I have right now. But contact me, call me. My personal cell phone is on every business card for every home, and it's 619-578-8416. I'll be glad to be here to help you. Thank you.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you. And so if they go to kozygardens.com, Kozy with the K, they can at least, if there's no room at that particular care home, you have other ones you can share.
And that's the fortunate thing about being with several is because I can almost imagine, you speak Spanish. I have Spanish staff at this home.
Right.
You need a private room. I have a home with 9 bedrooms. You need, I've had some Africans looking for a home, and that's a very, very unique area. And I was like, I have this home where I have the staff that may speak that language. So whatever the area might be, location, close to family, whatever that might look like, if I don't have, I can refer you to somebody who might have.
Awesome. Very, very, very cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Ladywinnie Allison, for joining me today. Very much appreciate you. Yeah, thank you. Thank you coming and sharing your insights into care homes here in Arizona.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Inspired by our guests? Visit phoenixprosperitypodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.